Welcome again. This is video 4 of accessible self-care during COVID-19. I'm Alison Oldker. I use the pronouns she, her. I'm a naturopathic physician, owner of PranaVis Medicine. I also teach yoga for Team Yoga Wild. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the Yoga Wild channel. There should be a button down there somewhere below to do that pretty easily. In the last video, I talked about the most important thing that you can do to support the lymphatic system of your immune system. That's exercise and movement. This time we're going to talk about one of my favorite ways to support the immune system. Specifically, I'm going to talk about hydrotherapy. So earlier in the first video, I mentioned that traditional European spa medicine, a place where people could go to heal from illnesses that were happening in the crowded cities, that one of the tools that they used was hydrotherapy. It has a long history of therapeutic uses. The basics of hydrotherapy are that we can use both hot water and cold water to help activate the immune system. The way this works, anybody who's stepped out of a hot shower and had red skin knows that when we apply heat to the body, the blood vessels and the lymphatic vessels, they vasodilate, which basically means they expand and open up. The opposite is true with cold water. When we're exposed to cold, the vessels vasoconstrict. If you've ever been really cold, gone out skiing or something and come back with hands that were a little bit white, that's an example of vasoconstriction. So if we use these two opposing forces, vasodilation, vasoconstriction, together, we can create a pump-like action. And as I said in the last video, when it comes to the immune system, you've got to be the pump. Now, if you have access to a shower, the easiest way to do this is to take your normal shower and end the shower on cold water. I promise you, if you do this often enough, it's not as miserable as it sounds. A short caveat, if you do have a history of any heart disease, I would maybe be cautious with this. I know lots of people who do this with pre-existing heart conditions, so I'm not terribly worried about this, but rather than start with a wild swing of temperature control, maybe you want to start with lukewarm water to cool water rather than really hot water to ice cold water. So just know your body and know where you would want to start. I'm going to introduce my favorite way to use hydrotherapy in our house. This is the wet sock treatment that I'm going to talk about, and I promise you that my family requests it when they're sick. I can't quite tell you how it works. I have some theories, and I think anybody with an experience in Chinese medicine or even nadis, an understanding of nadis, the energetic channels that we use in yoga, can tell you that a lot of those channels and meridians end in the feet, and some of them connect the feet and the lungs. So I primarily use wet socks, the wet sock treatment, when I am working with someone who has a cough or a fever or an upper respiratory infection, which, you know, is what we're primarily concerned about these days. Okay, the way this works, you need 2 pairs of socks, one thin cotton sock and a thick pair of wool socks. The cotton socks, you want to get them wet, pretty damp actually, and then, this sounds awful, you stick them in the freezer. And you stick them in the freezer for, 20 or 30 minutes. When you're ready, this works best, I find, if you can take a hot bath first or a hot shower before you do this. Get yourself ready for bed. This is something that would be best done at night before you go to sleep. Take your hot shower. Put these ice cold socks on. I know it sounds miserable, and it is for a couple of seconds, but that passes pretty quickly. Next, put your thick wool socks on. Get yourself in bed with a warm blanket and try and go to sleep frequently what will happen is your fever may break, your cough may be eased, and it's a really relaxing thing to do at the end of it, okay? I promise you my family asks for this. Old school naturopathic medicine at its best. Okay. Next up in the series, we're going to talk about the microbiome and how we can use it to help support our immune system. I'm Alison Olt-Kerr. Thanks for being here. If this has served you at all, please consider forwarding it to a friend or a loved one and help us continue to support Yoga Wild.